busy tonight.
It is now 6 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Kaneland Board of Education. We'd like to inform all board meeting attendees that this meeting is being live streamed and archived for access at any time by our community members on the internet within 24 to 48 hours of the meeting's conclusion. Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. McCauley.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And attendance roll call, please.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Here.
Mr. McCauley.
Here.
Mr. Cook.
Here.
Dr. Lawler.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons.
Here.
Mr. Stallcup.
Here.
Mr. Kleiser is absent tonight.
With 6 members present, we have a quorum. Is there anything the board would like to move from consent to new business? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move. Second.
Moved by Mr. McCauley, seconded by Mr. Stallcup. And a roll call, please.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Stallcup.
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. The agenda is approved. It is now time for board and or superintendent salutes. I will turn it over to Dr. Rowling.
Yeah, thank you. We have a number of them this evening. We're going to start. Dr. Atkins will do our first salute.
Excellent. Well, good evening. We are here tonight to introduce the newest member of our district office administration. Not a unfamiliar face to many in the district. This is Lauren Vaklovic. Did I get it?
You did.
Vaklovic. She has been in former lives an educator, instructional coach here, and most recently a curriculum coordinator in West Aurora for 6th through 8th grade English language arts, where she had some phenomenal data points that she shared with us about some of the growth that's been made. We had started an interview process to search for our coordinator of curriculum development several months ago. We interviewed about 10 candidates as a screener. We had over 25 apply. We brought back a slate of about 6 candidates for some group interviews and then some final interviews with Dr. Rowling and Dr. Horn and myself to find a finalist. And so we're very excited to have Lauren here tonight, and I wanted to give her a chance to introduce herself and be welcomed by the Kaneland community. So, Lauren?
Hi, everyone. I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity. I was able to bring my family here tonight to sort of celebrate. We're excited to be back to join the Kaneland Knights and work with some really familiar faces and really get some production forward and continue that good work that I know that you guys have already started the process of. So just looking forward to jump in and get it going. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Yeah, all right. The next one, I'd like to salute and congratulate Mr. Brian Zerfus, who's in the crowd this evening, for being named as the Administrator of the Year by the Illinois Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance, or IAFERD. He will be presented. He will be presented this award in December at the state convention. So we're very proud of him and the work that he's done. At the next meeting, we will also be saluting Ms. Sadie Stark, his PE teacher, who won an award through that organization. So excited to have those awards in our schools. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
And for our next one, I would like to call Mr. Faulkner to the podium.
Somebody who knows who came back to Kaneland. Hey! So let me say a few words about this amazing educator to the right of me, Miss Carrie Pitstick. You had to smile.
Yes.
And look at Mr. Chavez. So last Friday, was it last Friday?
2 Fridays.
At the 2 Fridays ago, at the Kane County Educator of the Year, Miss Pitstick was named the middle school Kane County Middle School, or Teacher of the Year. She is so deserving of this because I remember it was 10 years ago around this time that I was just hired to be the Harder principal. And the current principal said, hey, you want to be a part of interviews? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And we had a lot of great ELA teachers that we were interviewing, and she was one of the last ones. And she walked into that room and she started talking about students and whole child and how to make writing fun. And she walked out of that room and I was like, hi, don't let her leave the parking lot. Hire her right there on the spot. Go get her right now. And she has lived up to everything she talked about in that interview. She's student-centered, she's whole child driven, she makes her class fun, but she gets the middle school child. And there are things that she does on a daily, weekly, yearly basis that I think to myself, I am so glad she's here. And the best thing about Carrie is that she's a Kaneland alum. If you look around our district, we have a ton of Kaneland alum, and she's one of them. And she came back because she was so impressed with her educational career. She was like, if I'm gonna teach anywhere, it's gonna be at Kaneland. And she's here, we have her, she's not going anywhere. We're keeping her at Harder Middle School and in Kaneland. So it was just a joy when her name was announced. I wasn't shocked, I wasn't surprised because she deserves it. She's that awesome of a teacher, and we are just lucky to have her at Harder. We're also lucky to have her in Kaneland. So congratulations, Carrie.
I know, I was thinking about what I would say if I said something. I really am very proud, just like Brian said, to be part of the Kaneland community. I went to Kaneland my entire school, kindergarten through senior year. I was the first group of kids that went through John Stewart, kindergarten through 4th grade. I was the last group of kids or the last class that was 5th grade at the middle school. And I am just so proud to be back in this district where our parents, our students, our faculty, we just have the best of everything. And I'm just so proud to be here, and I'm proud to be a Knight. I always have been, I always will be. And I'm just really, really thankful that this is the place where my entire career will get to be. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I'm gonna go to the podium for the remainders. We'll be recognizing 25 years of service and some retirees. All right, so I gotta bring my cheat sheet with me to make sure I get it all right. All right, so first up for 25 years of service, Kristen Johnson, Kaneland High School English teacher. We were told she was coming, but I guess she's not. All right, so for retirements and 25 years of service, Director of Fox Valley Career Center and a guy just known around Kaneland, Dr. Rick Burchell. Congratulations.
Carrie was, by the way, I was your principal. I don't know if that counts for anything.
I'm sure you did something there. I don't see Mr. But Andy Franklin, who has served 18 years as a guidance counselor at Kaneland High School, is also retiring. Don't see him in the crowd. Pam Bertolotti, a Blackberry Creek paraprofessional. Come on up. 23 years. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
28 years as the fire science instructor for Fox Valley Career Center, and a name that comes up a lot when I talk to alumni, Mr. Gary Baum.
Thank you. Also a Knight,
Also a Knight?
class of '82.
All right.
Yeah, best athletic class ever.
I don't know, I talked to some guys from the 75 class that might disagree with you, but. All right. And then also, not present tonight, Michelle Hansen, Shields ELL teacher, 28 years. So congratulations to all of them. I want to wish all of you a happy retirement, and I want to remind you that we're always looking for substitutes and bus drivers. We'd love to have you back. So congratulations.
Dr. Bogan?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Any board members?
I have two.
Okay.
Keep it quick. So similar to Trustee Cox's experience at the Peterson Prep Meet, I had an opportunity to go to support our team at St. Charles last week at the Kane County meet. It was phenomenal. We finished third as a team against some much larger schools, West Aurora, East Aurora, St. Charles, and others. So congratulations to our athletes and coaches, and we look forward to conference this week. And then the second one is I left a newspaper article here for any board members that may want to see it. Julie has it, but I want to acknowledge there's an educator that's not from our district, but is an alumni, and currently coaches as head coach and as an assistant coach in our district, and just a great guy. He has huge impact on our athletes, students, programs. So I just want to recognize Chad Cleary for everything that he does for the kids in our district, and for furthering the community and being involved and just mentoring and as an educator. So.
Any other board members? All right. The board appreciates everyone in attendance this evening and invites you to stay as we move into the new business portion of the meeting. We understand that not everyone is able to stay for the entire meeting, and we want to make sure you know this is an open meeting, and so you are able to come and go as you need. And we look forward to seeing you at future meetings.
And the room ethics.
And the room ethics.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
This is where I start thinking about personal hygiene.
Fun stuff.
Hey, that's exciting.
Tonight's consent agenda
Don't give up.
that contains the following information. Number one, approval of the treasurer's report, April 2025. Number two, approval of the minutes of April 28th, 2025 regular meeting. Number three, approval of personnel. Number four, approval of the destruction of audio recordings from closed session meetings from November 2023. Number five, presentation of the student handbook on second reading. 6, approval of non-speak educational support staff salary increases and substitute seasonal rates for 2025, 2026. Number 7, approval of the Valley's salary and benefit recommendation. Number 8, approval of the food service fees for 2025, 2026. Number 9, approval of administrative contracts and salary increases for the 2025, 2026. And then informational items, student suspension data report. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent items listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Stalkop, seconded by Mr. McCauley. And a roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Mr. Spelcup?
Yeah, aye.
Mr. Mankowski?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. The consent agenda is approved. We'll now move on to the public comment section.
There's no one signed up.
No one signed up, okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. The first item of new business is an update on the McDole Elementary state designation. Dr. Rowling, if you would be so kind as to provide more information.
I'm going to call Mr. Zerfus up to the podium. Earlier in the year, we reported to the board that McDole Elementary was identified as a targeted school through the accountability process through ISB. Mr. Zerfus has done a fantastic job of working through that process, and I asked him to come this evening to share an update with the board. So, handing it off to Mr. Zerfus.
Thank you. Where do I point for my clicker?
Is it on? Let's check, make sure it's on.
Hit your leg twice.
There you go, sir. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. We have to go old school.
You gotta say beep at the end.
There we go.
Here we go.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to speak about the process that we've been undertaking this year at McDole Elementary School. As you know, this past fall we are identified as targeted specifically within the children with disabilities category in mathematics. And as part of that, we've been really focused this year as the part of our planning year. The targeted designation phase covers a 4-year cycle within the state of Illinois. This year, as you see, was our planning year. This is really where we take a deep dive at everything tied to McDole, our building data, the structures and pieces that we have in place, the connection at the district level, and it provides an extremely deep dive into what's happening at the building level. Each year within the 4-year process kind of shifts a little bit. And there's a different allocation of funds tied to those pieces as well. So in the planning year, again, it's all focused, it's kind of more behind the scenes meetings and surveying staff and all that. As we move forward with implementation year 1 and year 2, that's where we see funds increase to be able to, from the state, to put into practice those plans that we've built over the course of this first year, with those funds diminishing into year 3 as we put things and structures in place. Specific to the planning year, there are 3 core elements that the building has gone through. They are the development and implementation of a school leadership team, or SLT, the completion of the Illinois Quality Framework Supporting Rubric, as well as the development of our school improvement plan. Specific to our school leadership team, this was something that any member had to volunteer for. It was comprised of 10 different building-specific KEA members, as well as a handful of different building and district administrators. And it was a full collaboration. So staff members on the SLT team varied from classroom teacher, MTSS, instructional coach, grade level teachers of different experiences. So it really was a wide-ranging team that included several special education teachers as well. So it was a very diverse team of individuals with a lot of different backgrounds, but with the core mission of being able to work through identifying what are the needs of the building, where do we need to grow in, and how can we work on implementing those for the future. So to drive that work, the entire building completed what's called the Illinois Quality Framework, IQFSR, supporting rubric. The purpose of this is to focus school efforts on continuous improvement by evaluating practices and aligning them with state goals. In total, there are 7 core areas and 28 different key indicators. Of those 7 core areas, they are continuous improvement, shared leadership, collaborative teachers, supportive environment, ambitious instruction, involved families and communities, and effective leaders. To be able to take this took a little bit of work. Team members, we first sat down and actually walked through a little bit of what that process is to go through and complete this. It's a very in-depth rubric with multiple indicators for each of the 28 key indicators. So it's a very, there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of thinking. At first, we kind of walked through what the process was going to be, and then we asked our SLT team members as individuals to complete the IQFSR on their own. And then we also put the entire building into a myriad of different vertical teams comprising anywhere from 2 to 4 different people, just all at random, who then, under the guidance of a member from the SLT team, completed the IQFSR together. This is a little bit of a laborsome process. It took anywhere from 30 to 75-ish minutes to complete that in those group-based settings. But what I appreciated about that process, and I think the whole team appreciated, was the deep dive around the conversation of what do we actually rate this? Is it proficient? Is it distinguished? If it approaching proficient? Is it needs improvement? Whatever those are, these were processes where staff didn't just whiz through it. These were long conversations. Several of our teams had to go into a second meeting date within their own time to be able to complete the IQFSR together. So it was something that the teams and our building as a whole took very seriously as part of that process. There are a handful of key items that we found from the IQFSR. So first, 13 of the 28 key indicators are rated as accomplished or exemplary, with 15 of the 28 key indicators rated as emerging or ineffective. In a case where there was any tie, the team actually worked through and had conversations around, okay, where do we feel this is, and then we made a team-based decision on that. There are 4 critical areas that really bubbled up to the highest priority areas, and they are monitoring for results, which is very specific to district and school improvement plans, district and school level teams, which is really focused on data analysis and collaboration, professional collaboration, which focuses on analyzation and use of data for improved learning, and then delivery of instruction, which really focuses on the quality of instruction. Now, within each of these core areas, there are several sub-indicators that really put the meat on the bone of what those meanings behind that is. And then by going through the process of prioritizing everything, taking those highest level needs and then prioritizing them from high, medium, low, of just the high, in coming to these 4 key areas, it really does represent where McDole is at and the areas for growth within McDole. And I think while it was a very laborsome process to get through there, to give you a little bit of background, each of the 28 indicators, as an SLT team, when we looked at the survey results, we walked through each and every one. It took us about 2 full days worth of meetings to have the conversations. What was the conversation like? What might be some perceived differences in things? And what are some of the things, as you were having conversations, that might be areas to improve within this specific area? So that within the planning year, the IQFSR is a huge part of the process and took a solid third of the time to get through everything. It's an extremely valuable process. It opens the entire doors to McDole and to our district and allows for very direct staff feedback and a lot of great conversation. And while it has been a very time-consuming process to go through that IQFSR, the results from that have really been fruitful. As we begin to shift now into the school improvement plan piece, which is that third component of the planning year, the building as a whole has now developed 3 core goals, with each having 3 action items tied to them. So we have 3 total goals and 9 total action items. There is a little bit of rationale behind, the state asked that we do 2. I'm going to get to the rationale as to why we chose to do 3 total. Each of the action items have a supporting 45-day plan associated with it. So while we have the goals and those focuses, we then have the action items, and then within those action items, there are a slew of pieces that are as kind of our roadmap of how do we actually make this and how do we meet those needs. So I'm going to take an opportunity to go through all 3 goals here. This first specific goal, we have not finalized the percentage yet because we're waiting to collect the iReady spring data from this year to be able to compare it to previous years and finalize that. But you'll see 3 total goals: an iReady tied goal, an IAR specific tied goal, and then a feedback oriented goal with a lot of student voice components in it. So for this first goal, percentage of students in grades 1st through 5th will achieve on level or above level on the spring iReady math diagnostic using standard view. There are 3 core areas to this, the first one being iReady professional development. Based on the feedback that the building has been providing, we are actually going to be contracting out with iReady for them to come in and provide professional development to our building. Now, staff have had the opportunity to deep dive iReady at a professional development SIP day and get their hands on different things and really look through through it, especially those staff who might not have used it as much in the past. Then after that, we surveyed the staff and basically found that we have two different tiers of staff at the building. We have some staff who are experts and are ready to personalize more deeply with iReady, and others who need a little bit more of that foundational piece. What iReady is going to be doing is they're going to be coming in and actually providing 3 different sessions this upcoming fall. One session will be focused on that foundational building blocks part of iReady. The next session being focused on those staff who are letting to dive deep and personalize more. And then a third session that's for administrators, MTSS coordinators, and instructional coaches that'll be focused in on their roles in supporting iReady. With it being an iReady specific trainer, once we contract out with them and get that ball rolling, I'll actually be meeting with that trainer to make sure that the work that they're doing is really targeted to what's going on at McDole specifically. And we use that staff feedback to drive that.
Mr. Zerfus, can
Yes,
I ask
sir.
a question? For iReady professional development, to my knowledge, a lot of the times with iReady in the classroom, it's at the 1st through 5th grade level, it's give the kids an iPad or Chromebook, I'm not sure which they use
Yep.
at McDole, and they go on iReady. What are the teachers going to be doing to incorporate themselves into iReady lessons?
That's a great question. So earlier this year at our last SIP day, we had the ability for staff to take time. Some staff are really proficient at using it, other staff not as much.
Okay.
All of our staff had the opportunity to deep dive into all the various components. We actually provided a menu of different links for staff to go into and begin to identify how many lessons they want to accomplish each week. And the overall consensus as a building, now it's broken down by grade level, but
Yep.
the general consensus is 2 specific lessons a week, which kind of comes out to be about 30 to 45 minutes of that iReady focus time. To answer more deeply the question that you're asking, that deeper dive portion of how do teachers get more involved in using the information that they're getting from iReady and tailoring more personalized instruction. When the training piece with the professional development is actually 2 parts. We have one in the fall and then one in the winter where that trainer will come back.
Okay.
That look to dive deeper into how staff can more utilize the feedback that they're getting from iReady and personalize like small groups and all that. That's
Okay.
something that we're going to
That
be
makes
doing much more deeply in the winter when that trainer comes back. However, we have already started doing that this school year. We specifically used iReady data at 4th and 5th grade to target areas of need specifically in math for win time this past January, February, March, leading up to the IIR. So our win time was focused on the targeted areas within iReady that we weren't as proficient in, as well as that was tied to our IIR results from last year. So we really tried to interweave that and put that into play.
Great, thank you. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure the teachers were getting involved here.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking on that, Mr. Zervis, when they're doing additional work with building iReady skills and preparing the students for iReady, is that taking away from what the teachers are already doing? Is that adding a larger burden to their workload? Is this taking away from their bandwidth? Like, so how are we handling those pieces?
Yeah, a lot of that work that iReady is doing is much more during that center's time.
Okay.
So when a teacher's pulling a small group to work with students, other students in the classroom might have different activities that they are completing. iReady is a component of that kind of must-do, may-do type portion.
Okay.
One thing I can't answer specifically, and I think this is going to be a challenge regardless next year, is with a brand new math curriculum, it is going to move a little bit slower to get all those various components kind of rocking and rumbling. But really and truly, that iReady piece is meant to be part of that small group, non-teacher-led instructional time. That's part of that. And now, whether it's there or during win time, that's something that we'll have to work through, especially as with a new math curriculum, it may go slower at first.
Is there anything you need from us to maybe alleviate any concerns that you or the KEAA or Speak have?
I would say one of the most important things in just talking with staff about a new math curriculum is the training. I know that there's 2 sessions offered this upcoming summer. I know that there's sessions offered very early, right around Labor Day, if I'm correct. So I know those sessions are there. I think staff being able to get their hands on the new curriculum, be able to dive in and implement that in the classroom, like any new curriculum, that's going to take time. but as much quality training as possible and support from instructional coaches, cabinet level, however that does, I think that's going to be really important because staff are going to want to feel confident in what they're doing. And the iReady for some staff isn't another thing. It's already a part of it. Yet for some of our other staff members, that is going to be something new that we just have to be patient with.
Yeah, and I want to make sure everybody understands too, when we talk about iReady, iReady is a test that we bring those, but it's also reinforcement lessons. So when you take that test, when a student takes a test, iReady develops like a self-guided series of activities to help that student either improve areas of deficiency or accentuate areas of strength. And so this is part of that overall instructional program that we provide. So it's not just learning how to take the test.
Right.
It really is utilizing the resources that we pay for
Right.
to help students. And so it works in conjunction with a math or reading curriculum because the students are learning what's in the curriculum. Many of them, the ones that we talk about with the struggle on tests, have a gap somewhere in their education. And so the iReady should be designed to help them kind of fill that gap. So you're learning here, but also filling that gap along the way.
The other piece that's unique to this is the way in which we've set up the action items. Every 45 days, the team is going to re-meet after school from 3:30 to 7 o'clock and deep dive each of the 9 action items. So they'll be able to have conversations around, okay, here's what we had listed, here's what we've been working towards, but based off of experiences we've had with the new math curriculum or any kind of need to pivot, you can pivot and evolve that next 45 days based off of where your building is at. It's not the goals are certainly what we're working towards. The action items have a little bit more flexibility, and we want to make sure that they're meeting the needs of the teachers.
What's going to drive the percentage? That's a TBD.
Yeah, the percentage, we wanted to wait to capture the end of the year spring post-diagnostic data to be able to look at the global trends at the building for the last several years and begin to have conversations around what would be the most appropriate, based off of the most accurate data that we have, what would be the most appropriate percentage to look at.
So we're looking at a 3% increase, a 5% increase, or a 10% increase, or something like that. I guess what is historically up until today, what do we have for the last 3 years has been our increase or our decrease? I'm trying to get a feel for.
I have the historic. I have that data. I don't have it with me. I'd be happy to share it with Dr. Rowling to give you a sense of what the McDole historical trends have been. I apologize. I don't have that data specifically with me. And we even met this morning, and I said we're getting that spring diagnostic data now. As much as I'd love to have that percentage set.
And I guess a comparison of how is that at Stewart and what is that at Shields, and how is that comparison, across the district as well.
Yeah, we generally will bring that data to the board once a year. So we will be planning that to come up here. The schools are finishing their spring iReadies now. They're all at a little bit of a different pace. And so once we get that and we get some other data points, we put together a presentation to bring to the board. So when we have preliminary data, I can share that with the board, but that'll probably be a few weeks.
Other questions so far? The next action item is focused on trimesterly data days. These would have a component that, because of the children with disabilities, these would have a direct component when grade level teams, it'd be broken down by grade level teams. Grade level teams would meet. There would be a lead component of what we're doing to support children with disabilities. That's specifically what we're targeted for, so that would be a lead component of that. And then also looking at the grade level data as a whole after that. There would be opportunity to make adjustments, work with an instructional coach to potentially embed some different things coming out of that. But really the purpose of this is to be able to look at the data and identify next steps in tiered instruction for both children with disabilities and the cohort of the grade level as a whole. Our last action item is iReady student goal setting. iReady provides opportunities and resources for students to be able to identify their own individual goal. So next year we're going to be working with students to help them understand, why is iReady important? What does your score actually mean? Each student has their own individual score. We're going to be seeking to teach students what those scores mean and then work with students to individually goal set on how they want to achieve a certain growth score. And then there will also be data chats taking place both during the diagnostic testing throughout the school year at the 3 different times, where students will be able to go down and have a data chat around the building data and the grade level data. We'll be able to share that information on the growth as a building with those students. It will not be broken down. We're not putting individual student names up on a board and tracking them, but very much taking a look at classroom and grade level data and celebrating that growth. And then teachers can confer with their students on that area of growth that their student has achieved within iReady. So really, that's as much as there's education for teachers, there's also education for students as well. And then one of the components that we've discussed later on in that 45-day plan specific to the student goal setting is how we involve parents in that as well. And that's been a component that it's really hard to kind of pick and choose up front what we start with, but that's something that we've built in later within the plans. Any other questions specific to goal 1?
Is there a percentage that we need to ultimately get to after year 3 to not be on the watch list, or, I mean, I guess let's look at the end game.
The end game is higher IAR scores.
So what does that mean? I mean, are we at a 5 now and we got to get to a 50?
It's a wildly complicated mathematical equation.
Sure.
So in the way, because it's a ranking system, there's no way of saying if we get to this score, we're definitely off. Because it's a ranked system every year. I've also been made aware that they are looking at that system overall at the state, so that might change. But what I think we would really just want to see is improvement in our student outcomes. On the IAR is the one that matters for this designation. iReady, because we take that 3 times a year, is a better kind of taking the temperature of where we are. So, I think it's hard to put a number on it because of the way the state does it, to be honest, just to be blunt. But we definitely just want to see improvement, and we'll see what the data looks like for them, and then come back with that growth number.
Have we done those data chats before?
There are buildings currently doing them.
Okay.
It's something where we're going to, it's going to be a pretty big focus and focal point. And that'll be something that's tied into, we're actually planning on putting that in the hallway right by the MPR. So every single parent who will come to the building for any kind of performance will see the building's data. And that's a valuable part of the process. And just that education of that for students and then subsequently parents, I think will be really important and a great component of everything.
I would think, and I don't have evidence of this, so just based on what you're saying, that might be a good motivator though, right? I think oftentimes these things are, a kid looks at a standardized test and they say, I don't care about that, right? And so hopefully this could maybe, like you had said the word celebrate, I think that's a good way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if it does work, but
We're hoping it does.
yeah.
Okay, specifically to goal number 2, this goal is specifically targeted within IAR. So by June of 2026, 60% of students, including children with disabilities, identified as, and I apologize, it doubles there, including children with disabilities, will earn a 3 or higher on the math IAR assessment. And to work on this, we're going to be really looking at the tiered pieces being put into place within the classroom. First and foremost, we will be partnering with, the ROE as a partner throughout this process. And some of those targeted funds that we get, we actually pay to the ROE and they provide us some of the supports as well. It's a great partnership. So first and foremost, we'll be having monthly ROE supported and led learning walks that are going to take place in the building. Over the summer, the ROE is going to meet with our SLT team and actually set what our learning walk sheets will look like. It'll be specifically targeted to math. And it'll have a component of children with disabilities on that as well. That'll be built together in conjunction with the ROE and our SLT team. And then the ROE each month will be setting those up. There'll be, those learning walks will be done both ROE, admin, and members of the SLT team. So it'll be a rotating group of people who will be going on those learning walks. The ROE not only gets all that set up and kind of leads it, but then at the end, they collect all the data from each of the classrooms after you fill out the forms. And about 1 or 2 days later, they provide building and grade level specific data on the information that was collected. Well then, as part of that second action item, we'll be taking time at both the SLT level and grade level team level to break down that data. So the SLT team will be meeting and looking at the overall building trends and having conversations on any kind of specific PD or different ways in which we need to pivot might be kind of bubbling to the surface. And then a subsequent meeting, the grade level teams will meet and have conversations around their some of the building, but really more that building, or excuse me, that grade level specific data. And this provides them, our teachers, an opportunity to either identify some different tiered interventions or tiered approaches that they may need within the classroom. Might be just providing feedback on a brand new curriculum, but then also with an instructional coach as a part of that, if there are specific professional growth pieces that they'd like to engage with, there will be that kind of consistent data that can provide that information and feedback to our teachers as part of that process. Our third action item is associated with the IR assessment is specifically around accommodations and professional development around accommodations, both 504s, IEPs, all our children with disabilities. So specifically, one of the core components there is going to be really helping to develop stronger knowledge and then consistent application of accommodations. And that's something that as we continue to build out that 45-day plan that I know the Department of Special Education will be a part of, and in the ways in which we navigate how we better educate our staff about accommodations, but also how we apply those in the classroom on a consistent basis, and doing that with greater fidelity.
Mr. Zerfus, what is the percentage now? If we hope it's going to be 60, what was it last
Yeah,
year?
so it's an average of 3 different grade spans. So
Okay.
3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. 60% is kind of that average piece. I forget the specific numbers, but we took kind of the course of the last 3 years and looked really at the last set of data, this previous year, which will have the most cohorts still
Yes.
at McDole,
Okay.
and took the average of that specific number. This is tough because as much as you'd want to have it differentiated in different grade levels, it is a building score. So I think there will be different areas of growth for each team, but overall we took an average of that specific score from
Yes.
previous years.
Yeah, but what is it now? I get that it's going to be, it's hopefully going to be 60, but what is the percentage now?
It varies anywhere. It varies between about 50 and 70% based off of which specific grade.
Okay, so so 60 a goal then? If we're already at 50 to 70.
The challenge in this one specifically is like with different grades, some grade levels have a higher percentage this past year, and some grade levels have a lower percentage.
Okay.
And the ROE is really encouraged to, you don't want to have a specific goal for each grade span, but more of something for the building level. So it is an average, and again, that average for the 3 grades in this past school year it's right around between 50 and 70% was the scores.
Okay.
So the other thing that I guess I would piggyback on that is, when you send over the info, maybe it'd be good to give us a snapshot of what those percentages
Be
are
happy.
at the various things, but where are we at the other elementaries as well?
I can get that data together.
Any other questions here? All right. Goal 3, we're required to have 2 specific goals. A third goal is optional. Based off the feedback from the IQFSR, the team decided that it was appropriate to have a third goal that really focused around student feedback. And there are some themes here specific to our district SIP goal and the work that we've been doing this past year with feedback. So specifically for goal 3, 80% of all students in grades K through 5 are able to select and meet a self-identified growth goal in math. You'll notice that this is a goal that focuses on all students across the board. We don't have iReady for kindergarten, but we really felt that it was important to have a goal as well that all students can be a part of. So within this, it is not students identifying something specific to the entire class. This can be a student identifying, hey, I want to do a better job at multiplying 2-digit by 3-digit numbers, and I want to be able to do that at a proficient level within my own practice. Or I want to be able to regroup numbers with a certain level of proficiency. It provides students the opportunity in those feedback conferences with their teacher to identify a goal that they want to work towards achieving and that they can speak to. I know I'm going to be proficient in this standard because I am doing X, Y, Z within my learning. So it's an opportunity for students to really have that personalized approach. The first area that we'll be targeting with the action item is feedback professional development. Similar to what we've been doing this past year with some of the district all-in feedback pieces as well as building specific, how we work from making that low cognitive demand and switching to that higher cognitive demand of students being able to self-direct their learning and identify and articulate where they want to grow as learners. That continued building knowledge and growth in that area is something that we want to continue doing next year. Action item number 2, student goal setting. As I kind of shared, each student would be setting a goal that they'll work on attaining. And then when they do reach that piece, we're going to have classroom data tracking charts where students are going to be able to kind of move over into that celebration spot. So each student can celebrate the work that they're doing. It's at their own individual level, but then they get to share in that success and accomplishment. And then we have a connection home as well, sharing about that learning. And the last piece tied into this is our SPED and general education teacher collaboration. This is something that has popped up through the IQFSR as an area for continued growth. It's not to say that that collaboration isn't happening, but we certainly want to enhance that. So some of the ways in which we are going to be doing that this upcoming year is setting a specific meeting at the start of the year for all of our children with disabilities paperwork to be shared and discussed with general education teachers to make sure that they're aware of especially the accommodations for each of those students. A monthly IEP team meeting that will take place during the 8:05 collaboration meeting where specific pieces to any student IEP paperwork. So let's say a student's had an updated IEP. What changes came about that? Or if there were accommodations that maybe we're not doing as effectively, having a conversation around, hey, remember these few accommodations, especially with this unit coming up, or this student's been struggling a little bit, let's double check those accommodations. It's really to make sure that we're tight on the paperwork aspect and that all the stakeholders who are supporting those students are a part of that. And then also having a weekly protected common plan time with all co-teachers. This is certainly something we strive for, but there are a lot of competing interests, especially by our case managers. So making sure that we protect within that schedule, even if that means we have to, sacrifice other things, we need to have at least a weekly plan time between our case managers and their co-teachers to make sure that they are effectively planning together and that they can align the standards that they're working on. So that is the third action item there. Questions specific to goal 3?
When do parents get involvement here? And I ask that because you're asking students in K through 5 to set a goal on what they want to learn. I can tell you my 5th grader is going to tell you he wants to go outside and learn how to ride his bike better or jump the bike or throw the ball or make a better spiral. He doesn't care what he's going to do in math. So at what point do the parents get a say-so in what those goals should be so that they can help monitor and facilitate it at home too? I think that's going to be your single biggest ally in this.
And that's really the beauty of this plan is right up front, that specific parent involvement is not going to be as strong because in the first 45 days of school, we're not going to be diving into every student setting a math goal of something that they want to achieve, but we're going to be providing education to students around how you can goal set and what that looks like. And that it's really unique to see that 45-day plan because it's more those foundational things in those first 45 days. Whereas as we begin to shift later into the school year, you see that parent component come into play more. The parent component across the board is something that we had a lot of conversation around of how do you involve the parent piece, because that's that third core stakeholder there. So that's something that as we build those foundational pieces of how students goal set and what they're working towards, that gets embedded later on so that there is that parent connection so that when the student does go home, they're not only sharing it, but the parent can support it as well. So I agree that's vital.
I would tell the parents right out of the box, here's our plan. You should be seeing something from us at this juncture in the school year.
Yeah.
Be that 45 days or, because they saw what the kids did last year, right? I'm sure you guys went back and talked to the last year's teacher and, Joe Smith is he needs help with multiplication, but, he can add and subtract 10-digit numbers in his head. So whatever that case may be, I think you got to lay that out to the parents early.
For sure. Okay, so the remaining implementation year 1. So this is taking a shift into more next year. The SLC team has a real vital role. They're in charge of making sure that we implement each of the 9 action items with consistency and integrity. They will have 2 meetings a month that'll start before the 8:05 collaboration time, so a little bit early in the morning. One meeting is going to be a general meeting for just to cover everything that's going on, to make sure that we're staying on top of things. The other morning meeting that's going to take place each month by the SLT team is that deep dive on the learning walk feedback. Every 45 days, there will also be a 3.5-hour meeting where the team will meet after school and go through all 9 action items and build out the next 45 days. In conversations with the ROE, that definitely is an undertaking, but the ROE really recognized that to really do this work with fidelity and not have the distractions or the sub-challenges or whatever that may be, finding time to do it outside of the school day, and that is paid time that's provided. We have those funds through the state. The ROE really recommended to keep teachers in the classroom and make sure that we're focused on that work, to do that after school in that more deep dive type fashion. And the unique part is we've been able to deep dive all 6 of the 9 45-day plans thus far have been fully developed for those first 45 days, and it's a very deep dive, intricate process where we really turn over every stone of making sure that we've got all the roadmap pieces into place. And so the morning meetings, the implementation, and then the updated action items every 45 days. Specifically to the remainder of this year in the planning year, there's a handful of things that still need to take place. First off, the finalization of all the 45-day plans. We have 3 remaining that we're looking on this upcoming Monday. We're going to be finishing. And then we're going to begin to identify, develop, and secure all support items within each 45-day plan. So specifically, the iReady training PD that we talked about, making sure that we get that contract in motion. The trimesterly data days, what's that actual format going to look like? And as a team begin discussing, based off the conversations we've had all this year, what that general format could look like, and going through everything and making sure we have as much of the roadmap laid out and ready to go. Our year 1 budget, getting our allocation of funds from the state and knowing what that's going to be and finalizing the budget for next year. And then coming back and presenting that final SIP plan for board approval. There's actually a set of state paperwork that we need to complete, present, and receive approval from the board, and then we submit that to the state. So those are kind of the big hanging fruit for our team the remainder of this planning year. Questions?
Elephant in the room.
Yeah.
How is Mr. Zerfus handing this off then to the next principal?
We are, he and I had a discussion today. We are going to continue to work with both myself and Dr. Horn in terms of making sure we have all this, in a row.
Okay.
He will have, ideally, will identify that candidate
Okay.
early June.
Yeah.
And so he'll have the opportunity to have a number of sit-downs with that candidate.
Okay.
To
That was
go
awesome.
through those things, so.
Because I don't discredit you and Mr. Horn's ability to do this, but Brian's living
Right.
this, right? And so passing that on might be much, is obviously much more important.
It has been a substantial undertaking, and as the principal during the planning year, it is my intent to have as much of the planning year done and finalized as possible. There's no sense in trying to hand that off and say, all right, figure it out.
Right.
I want to make sure that as much of that can be handed off, but it is a very time-consuming process. The planning year there's a lot to it, and with the implementation too, there's 3 goals and 9 action items. There's a lot to that, so it is a laborsome process for sure.
Well, and I'd also say the depth of knowledge for the SLT is very deep. I mean,
Good.
this has not been something that Brian has done in his office.
Right.
You know, this has been, I've been to a number of the meetings. I know, Dr. Mum, Dr. Horn, Ms. Eggleston, have all been to these meetings. And so the knowledge in the room
Yeah.
is gonna stay there.
Good.
So,
Good to hear. Obviously, this is a very important thing, and then also having it happen in a transition can be, very delicate. So a lot of pieces. So I appreciate that.
My hope that the 45-day plans are as detailed as possible,
Yeah.
so that you're checking the list.
I just want to thank you too for taking a pause and bringing in your teachers again. The depth that you went into working with the teachers to get their voices and have them, like you said, not just a simple answer these questions, that you had them talk to each other so they can kind of even confer with each other, like, well, I'm not struggling in this, but why? Oh, maybe, I didn't consider that. So you could get a deeper perspective, when doing the survey and stuff like that. So thank you, because again, it's labor intensive, and thanks to the teachers too that all did it, because we needed them to do it. I mean, it's hard, but we needed to just kind of peel back the onion to go, hey, where is it? And how can we support you the best? Because we don't know where the root cause is, we can't fix it. So the fact that you had the mindset to do that, I really appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. And just the team that you've built, and like you said, that they will take this forward. You've got a great team too. So, obviously, like Dr. Lawler said, if there's anything else that we need to know or any way we can support you, let us know too. So, because we know your teachers too, they're the ones that are going to be living this and working with those students. They know their kids, they know those grades, and they're going to be helping them with those skills and figuring out. And I appreciate too that you're teaching these kids accountability too, of like, hey, this is my school day. This is my school day. My parents not with me. This is me. What do I want to achieve today? Yeah, I want to go home and ride a bike, but you know what? Right now, this is math time. This is reading time. And so bringing that back to them, and that they're engaging with their teacher and having those kind of conversations, that relationship is huge. And so thank you for doing that part of it too. So.
All right, I just wanted to say congratulations
Thank you.
on your new position. Best wishes there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, there's no action necessary tonight for the update on McDole State designation. The second item of new business is the approval of a 1.0 full-time equivalent first grade teacher at Kaneland John Stewart Elementary. Dr. Rowling, if you could provide more information.
I'm gonna actually hand this one off to Dr. Agnes.
Thank you. As the board knows, we conduct our staffing pattern in March, but we call that the minimum staffing plan for the very reason that I'm here tonight. We take a snapshot in time in late February of our enrollments, programmatic changes, all those kinds of things to create our minimum staffing plan. But then as soon as that is approved, we begin a process of monitoring enrollment on a weekly basis. So a quick shout out to our building secretaries at all 4 elementaries who every Thursday update a running enrollment document. We track pending students, so those families that come in and say, oh, we're thinking about buying in the neighborhood, I've got 17 kids and all these grades. We keep track of all of that information, then we monitor it on a weekly basis. And so throughout the last couple of weeks, we've noted that first grade at John Stewart is a hot spot. We are at class sizes of 25, 25, and 26 with 3 teachers. That is too high for first grade. So in talking with the first grade teachers, with our district office, we are here tonight to request an additional allotment of 1 FTE for first grade at Stewart. That would bring our class sizes down to 19, which are equivalent to our class sizes in our other 3 elementaries. Allows us to have room for more enrollments. It is home purchasing and selling season right now, so we do anticipate additional fluctuations in enrollment, but this is the only hot pocket that we have at our elementary schools. The remainder of our class sizes are such that we should be able to absorb additional students. So I'm hopeful that this is the only elementary additional FTE that we request, but again, who knows how the home sale season goes. So tonight we're asking for that additional FTE. We'll be able to hire and recall one of our RIFT staff. So it's important for the board to know that those staff that were reduced in force who are eligible for this position are not legally allowed or eligible for recall under the law. But we have made that commitment to those staff who have done good work for our district to bring them back. So we would not be hiring outside of the district. We would be going to that list of staff that the board had to vote to release back in March and working to restore them. If you've noted over the last 2 personnel reports, we've already begun that process and we've been able to rehire approximately 4 or 5 staff already, and we'll continue to do that process. So as we have that natural attrition, we're going to fill those people with those staff with people that we have trained that have been here, that know our schools and our kids and our families. So questions from the board?
Any questions? All right, I will now entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves an additional 1.0 FTE first grade teacher at Kaneland John Stewart Elementary.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Lawler and second by Mr. McCauley. And a,
Aaron Square.
nice. Aaron Square. And a roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Stallcup.
Aye.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
All right, the third item of new business is the approval of support staff handbooks, first reading. Dr. Bogan, if you could provide more information.
Yes, so tonight, I know this is a very thick memo, but that's because it does include the entire handbook for bus drivers, food service, and then also educational support staff. I do want to just highlight a couple things. One, tonight we're asking for approval on first reading. So if approved, there would be time for any clarifications needed, and then once that happened, it would come back for final approval at the next board meeting on the consent agenda. But in the front, I did provide everyone with a table that outlines the specific changes for each of those handbooks. And as you can see this year, it's minimal. Last year, we really went through a pretty aggressive look and looked at all of the grammatical things, punctuation, anything and everything that we could have done. And so last year, when you saw that there were pages and pages that we had gone through, this year it was very minimal. Updating the dates on cover pages, updating the dates in which this was reviewed for state requirements. And then there were, on the bus driver handbook, there was one language addition. It's not a practice change, but we do have staff throughout the district that work in multiple positions, and so we just wanted to clarify for them that staff working in one position can't call off and then take a trip or go drive a route. So we did add language around that. And then under food service, there was just an updated example, right? We use dates for first in, first out, how you might label product in the cooler, and so I just went ahead and updated those dates so that it was accurate. And then on the educational support staff handbook, the only change, there was an example of if an employee was going from a 9-month position to a 12-month position, how their service time would be calculated. We have 10-month employees, and so we just changed that example from a 9-month employee to a 10-month, so there'd be no confusion, like, where's this 9-month position? So that it was accurately reflected there. Thank you. But otherwise, there were no changes, but you do have the full document. So if there are any questions or feedback on these, I'm happy to take that and incorporate that into prior to this coming back to the board.
Questions? All right, I will now entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves the recommended changes to the bus driver, food service, and educational support staff handbook as presented in the first reading.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. McCauley, seconded by Mr. Stallcup. And a roll call, please.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Stallcup.
Aye.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
6-0. The
Simmons. Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Caught me.
That's 6-0.
Motion carries 6-0. The support staff handbook is approved on first reading. The fourth item of new business is the approval of press policies, issue 118, first reading. Dr. Rowling, if you could provide more information.
There's another thick memo, the school district does belong to Press, which is a service provided by the IASB, and essentially what they do is they make sure that all of our policies are in line with current legislation, as the state likes to change the rules on us every so often. Any new references related to legal decisions, and then they also make sure that every policy is reviewed on a 5-year basis. There is nothing really substantial in this edition. They are largely just verbiage things that may have changed based on changes in the law or some new references for the court cases. So nothing really exciting to share in this one. If you want to read it, I read it a couple weeks ago. Ms. Orfel provided it for me just to help me get through the afternoon. Those are those, but the whole packet is included in there.
All right. Comments, questions? All right, I will now entertain a motion that the Board of Education approve the recommended policy changes from press on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Stallcup, second by Mr. McCauley. What happened, Dr. Wilder?
Slow on the draw.
Yeah, slowing the draw. All right, and a roll call, please.
Mr. Stallcup.
Aye.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. The policies from press have been approved upon first reading. The fifth item of new business is the committee structures of Kaneland Community Unit School District 302. Dr. Rowland, if you could provide more information.
Yeah, so this is one of the agenda items that the board brought to us and asking how we work with our union partners in terms of some of the working committees in the district. Dr. Atkins is gonna lead us through this journey.
Excellent, thank you. So, yes, as Dr. Rowland said, the board had an interest in understanding a little bit more about committees and how they operate within the context of the district. So, to begin with, I just wanted to thank all of the members of the bargaining team, both the KEA bargaining team and the administration bargaining team, because there were clarifications to be made, and during our very successful, very quick, and very unsupported through federal mediation bargaining process last spring, we were able to clarify all of the aspects about committee work with the association and contractualize a lot of that understanding and language. And so that was quite an undertaking, and there was a lot of very candid conversations and a lot of advocacy from the association. So I wanted to thank them for that input and that support as we problem solve that together. Additionally, I wanted to thank all of the co-facilitators, because the majority of our groups, if not all of our groups, have a co-facilitation component with them. And so some committees are very practical in nature and very programmatic in nature, and so the facilitation is more about orchestrating communication and that kind of thing. But then there are other committees where truly the agendas are co-constructed, co-delivered, co-planned and prepared for and co-facilitated. And so it runs the gamut, but all of them are co-led. And then, of course, all the people that have been part of that over the years. We've had committees with board members, administration, district office, building administration, association members of all grade spans and content areas. And so that's a lot of work. It's a lot of time outside of the school day in some instances, and it all yields collective efficacy. So some of these expectations come straight out of our KEA contract with the association. And so we went through a variety of components. We want to make sure that we are having that shared decision-making, that we're focusing on participation and communication. The committees all establish and maintain regular meeting calendar and minutes. And so we all put something out, some sort of shared message. Sometimes it's just traditional meeting minutes. Sometimes it's we jointly discussed this, we shared that, we decided this, and we push that out. We have defined all of these different committees in our contract so that everybody knows, oh, I heard about this committee, someone suggested I be on it, what do they do? That's put out there. And then as a result of some of our conversations leading up to and during negotiations, we also have made a conscious effort to look at our decision-making process, polarity management, and how to make sure that we are both expressively and receptively representing all of the things that go on in the district and in the committees. And so I know that there has been concerns brought forward in the past about those on the committees not necessarily representing the whole group. And so we wanted to make sure that we practice that polarity management. We work closely with the association to say, hey, this is a committee, we're looking for membership. who might be some both pro or maybe not so pro voices to put at the table to make sure that we practice holonomy and that we really get two different perspectives at the same time at the table. To have a decision made by a committee where everybody really has this preconceived, maybe unspoken agreeance, that doesn't always yield good results. So we want to make sure we practice polarity management as we're going about our collective work.
Dr. Atkins, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So what mechanism do you use to check to make sure that members do feel like there's shared governance and that communication is working? And so how do you check in on that and make sure it's working?
That's a good question. I think the biggest factor that we've taken on the last 6 months or so has been partnering with our association leadership to make sure that there are those disparate voices on the committee. To make, just to, because I could think someone is going to be, I call it the 10th man, right? You have that 10th person on the committee that you put on there just because they're going to say no to everything. Like you don't take that person off of the committee. You intentionally put them on there. Team of rivals, kind of that Lincoln-esque idea of who's on our various boards and various committees. And so we work closely with the association since our new contract was ratified to make sure that we're hearing those voices. I have to give a shout out to our new superintendent who does a very good job of not only seeking that, but then checking in, is this committee seeking the input that we really need? Are we really getting honest and true and unfiltered feedback? I think we want to make sure that we're not afraid to pick up that rock and look at all the squiggly things underneath, to quote Tom Collins, right? So we're doing our best to do that. As far as an official formal mechanism, I think you're going to see a variety of things with the climate and culture survey that the KEA puts out, as well as our own twice a year. We do a biannual, one of my personal goals that you'll be hearing about some is a biannual climate and culture survey. We just put our first one out 2 weeks ago. It's closing now, and Dr. Rowling and I have a meeting tomorrow to look at the results of that. That then will give us some objective data points to the subjective question of, am I being heard?
Yeah. I think that's perfect. I
Yep.
think it's a good balance.
Yep.
That's good.
Committees meet on school days or after school meetings. We'd limit some of those things in terms of we don't want to have an 8-hour meeting after school. That would be inappropriate. We meet annually with the association to talk about committees and membership. By October 1st, we share a list of the committees, and we've contractualized a lot of this now. Committee membership applications may be used if we have more than enough people applying to be on a committee and not enough seats for those people on that committee. And then we also work with the association if that's the case. And then we have running notes that we make available to the staff so they can see what's going on. The committees themselves, we've delineated all of these in the contract. So the first one in our contract is the Curriculum Review Committee for the high school. It's specific to the high school because of their handbook and the curriculum handbook. They meet annually throughout the year. Some of them, the number of meetings will depend on the work to be done. There are years where the meeting is very cursory and in nature, and there's other years where there's a lot to do because we're making a lot of changes to things. And then we have department level representation on that committee. Differentials and stipends. This one is one that I co-facilitate with the KEA president. We meet annually every Tuesday of February, so we meet 4 times. We have representatives from across all the grade levels. What happens is the administration gets together to determine what athletics or activities are going to be proposed or recommended for the following year. And then for any new ones, the association has the right to set the rate for the work done. So once we determine what those activities or those athletics will be for the following year, anything new goes to the joint differentials and stipends committee so that the association can set the rate of that work. So if we're going to add a head basket weaver varsity coach, they'll say, oh, that fits here in this lane on our pay schedules. And then that comes as part of the recommendation to the board in the minimum staffing plan. We have a district mentoring committee that meets quarterly to review what we do and what we offer to our new staff. We have representatives from all the different levels. We have a district-wide initiatives committee that meets. We have a variety of people that participate in that. We have our EAC. This is the elementary school improvement team, if you will, for the whole elementary level. That is a very large group, just so you know. I believe that we have, 14 members right now, plus a variety of administrators. So it's a group of about 20 people that to get together and plan for the elementary level. We have an evaluation committee that meets at least 4 times a year. There's some regulatory components that they have to take care of for PARA and Senate Bill 7, but then also there's a responsiveness component and a planning component to make sure that we are up to date with any changes from the state. Over the years, we've added a tenured teacher unsatisfactory rating appeal process that was required by law. We updated all of our processes to go from the 4-year tenure accrual process to the new 3-year requirement. We have updated this year from the 2013 Charlotte Danielson framework to the 2022 version of the Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching. And I have to applaud that committee because we did a lot of work with pushing out the PD for that, both in in-person meetings with voiceover PowerPoints, which Mrs. Reeder helped me with, and her and I both are on there, and then some Google Meets as well. So we really tried to provide an opportunity for individual staff members across the district to choose how they took in the new information. And then word on the street is that we have pending legislation in Springfield that may take away the student growth component from the evaluation process. So if that were to occur, we would yet again meet and update our processes accordingly. Health Insurance Committee, that's more the bailiwick of Dr. Bogan. They meet on a regular basis to review our insurance, and there's a lot of work. We've talked a lot about that before, so I believe the board knows how that process works. We do have a middle school and high school homeroom committee, not this most recent contract, but the one prior. We've developed an expectation for homerooms at the middle school and high school level. Because of that, we developed homeroom committees that were intended to meet and begin to plan the professional development and the logistics for homeroom at our 612 level. At the outset of that contract, 2 contracts ago, they would meet monthly, sometimes even more frequently throughout the whole year. And then since then, that has begun to ebb because homeroom is really enculturated into our program now. They do still meet, but it is much less frequent. And then at the high school and the middle school, it's comprised of different groups of people, but essentially the student services staff at the high school and then a combination of people at the middle school. Building School Improvement Plan Committee. At the high school, you're looking at your department chairs, and at the middle school, it's the building leadership team, and they look at those building-based school improvement goals and activities. We have a sick leave bank committee. We've not had to meet in recent years because we haven't had any requests for the sick leave bank committee. However, I do have to thank Mrs. Axel for working with me over the last couple of weeks to update our sick leave bank bylaws. And those are going to be going out to our association members by May 15th under statutes for implementation the next year. And we just tightened up some language and brought it up to current times. It hadn't been touched in many years. And so thank you to Susie and her team for looking at that. We have a special education workload committee, which is facilitated by Fran. They meet on a regular basis to discuss the caseloads, the processes we use, the various things that the special ed teachers across the district are dealing with, and then they develop a special education workload plan every year so that staff know how to seek support when they need it. Some of the things that have come from that is plan time. So if I have a very heavy, intensive period of time coming up where I have a lot of annuals and IEP meetings, I can request a sub from my principal, and then I come to work, I get all the paperwork done, I meet with all the teachers, I get all the networking done, I get all the report writing done, while there is a sub working with my students. That way I'm best prepared to meet with families and talk to them about their child. So those are all the committees we have in the district. That's how we work, that's how we operate. Any questions, comments, or compliments?
I got a few, so I don't want to
Go ahead.
dominate the conversation, so if other folks have. All right, here we go. Number one, I would love to hear about the climate and culture data. I think that'd be really great to be shared with the board. I don't know if that has to become a formal thing, if it could be just the weekend or the update, that's fine too, but somehow get access to that information, I think would be useful.
Yeah, the plan is to share that out. it just closed today, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me a little time.
Yeah, take your time.
But yeah, I will be sharing that with the board.
Good, good. The other thing I had a question about, how does staff come to you and say, we want to form a new committee? Forgive me, I don't remember what the contract says about creating new committees, and so, we want to make a new committee about XYZ, Dr. Atkins, how do we create that?
That's a good question. I haven't had any requests like that in the last 10 years. I'm assuming because it's a bargained piece that it could come through the association or it could come to myself. We've never turned away any thoughts or new ideas or anything like that.
Okay.
But again, one of the things that I think we can look at is that the majority, if not all of our current committees scratch all of the current itches that we have. But who knows what tomorrow brings, and so we'd be open to that, and we'd be open to problem solving that with the association.
Yeah, I was just interested, like, and it wouldn't have to be a formal committee, it could be an ad hoc committee too, like, there could be moments where we need to form something, and, I always say this from my own experience, my favorite committees are the ones that work themselves to death, right, like, that accomplish their goal, and then they disappear, right, I'm just wondering if that's a possibility. And I get worried about it having to always go through the contract. I think that's a good place for committees to go, but is there an opportunity to exist outside that maybe as well, or something that happens?
So we do have some ad hoc committees.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, so as an example, when we do curriculum adoption, so we had a math adoption
sure.
committee,
That's
right?
a good way to think of it.
We have an AI committee that's looking at AI usage
So you
and
are
stuff. So
doing
we do have
yeah.
ad hoc, and what we do is as we see a challenge or something we're undertaking, like a curriculum adoption,
Sure.
then we just, again, we follow the same process.
Yeah.
We work with, we see who's interested, we work with the association leadership on identifying the people to sit in the room,
Okay.
and then we move forward, and then, they do work to the end of that life cycle, and then, we start with something else. So there are those, we're doing one with MTSS right now, so those things do exist.
They do exist, okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then my last question or point was, how do you determine the level of shared governance, and how do you determine, like, which committees should have more shared governance and which ones need to be more admin driven?
Sure. I think we look at a regulatory component with that. So for example, the evaluation committee, there are 4 questions that Senate Bill 7 and PARA require us to ask every year, even though they've been outdated for 10 years now, but we still have to ask them. And we still have to say the committee met on this day before this date, ask these 4 questions and have these 4 answers, so that when we get audited every year, we can say, here's the day and time we met, we asked these questions, here was the conversation, the notes, so that is very much top down, that's hierarchical. So less shared governance there and more compliance based, right? But I think for the majority of our committees, you're gonna see a lot more shared governance. The homeroom committee, that is not a top down admin driven committee. That's let's problem solve this together. And so I mentioned the decision-making continuum in there. If you're not familiar, it's 1 through 7, 4 is in the middle. 1 is jump how high, right? A couple years ago when the fire was over at the high school, I was issuing level 1
Right.
directives all over the place. That's understood. On the far end of the spectrum is a level 7 decision where you tell me what you need. Here's the task, I'm gonna step out, you do what you need to do, tell me how I can support you. Co-constructing and co-developing would be right in the middle, and that's where the majority of our committees meet or fit. And then there's some expectations that go with that. When there's a level 4 decision to be made by the district, participants on that committee know that there might be some prep work I have to do. I might have to know something about the topic we're meeting about. I might have to prepare. A good, for instance, would be with the mentoring committee. At our last meeting, we put out a document for the members of the committee to populate about what are the must-dos and prefer-to-dos for new staff next year. Knowing what our cohort would look like, knowing the size of it, knowing their needs, knowing where we're at as a district. What are the things we have to do, and what are the things we'd like to do if we have time, right? And then within that, we have a roadmap for the whole year, by month, by topic, and then who's going to deliver those topics. And so the homework, the level 4 part was look at that roadmap that we already have, reflect on the cohort we have coming in, and then populate this T-chart. The must-dos, we're going to figure out a way to get them done. They become non-negotiables. We'll get those done. The need-to-dos, we'll figure out how to fit them in. So,
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation. And you know, outside of the contract, oftentimes these committees can be some of the biggest indicators or the biggest shapers of a teacher's life or a staff member's life, right? And so I think it's important, probably for our purview as well, just to ensure that folks do feel like they're having a lot of say in these processes and they feel like they're being heard in these processes. And so sometimes it's good just to remind us of that. I'm hopeful that the climate and culture data will also help us get a sense of where folks feel. And if there is a moment to maybe reflect on some of this and say, hey, you know, this one, we thought we were doing shared governance work with, or we thought we were collaborating, but the climate and culture survey says maybe not so much, maybe readdress that then and find ways to continue to incorporate those voices.
The question I have, in any of those, there's no parent or community member involvement. Is that by design? Is that just never came up? I'm curious.
I don't know that it's ever come up, and for some, again, there's some that are a little bit more compliance-based, and then the parental voice may come through some sort of representative. So, for example, the Health Insurance Committee has a board member on it. The board member there is a representative of the community, and so there might be those ad hoc committees. For example, strategic planning is coming. As we do strategic planning, I would imagine that there must be parental input on there that isn't a representative parental input through the board, but instead parents, right? Another ad hoc example would be some of our interview processes. For those district level positions, we've had parents who are not board members come and participate in those processes for our principalships and such. We're working on replacing an elementary principal right now, and there'll be parental representation on that committee, because I think we try to balance the operational, regulatory, year-to-year kinds of things with the things that are going to have the most impact. So, for example, helping pick your child's principal, that has a huge impact. Right? And so we need a lot of that input in those settings. So I do think we have that, but maybe for more of those not defined committees. I know for the purpose of this presentation, we were trying to answer Dr. Lawler's question of working with the association, but that doesn't mean that there aren't those additional opportunities outside of those prescribed, contractualized committees that we have. So, good question though.
Well, and you're adding your committees to the ones before our next board meeting.
Yeah, those will be more board-driven, but they are open meetings, so parents are welcome
So
to
parents are
attend. And
able-
then I think as we work through, right now we have Kaneland Connects as a parent community advisory group. We have CAC as a parent community advisory group. We have a variety of other Hall of Fame and some other things. I just look at my schedule, everything that starts at 6. That's 6 or 7, that's those. And so I think as we go through the new strategic plan, it may be a good opportunity for the board to consider what are those opportunities, how do we want to structure our community feedback in those ways. Because we have had in the past a finance committee and a facility committee, but attendance at those was minimal at best, and so those have kind of fizzled. So I think we have to continue to have those conversations.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Atkins. There is no action required for the discussion of the committee structures in Kaneland District 302. The sixth item of new business is the potential litigation against the Village of Sugar Grove for possible action. Dr. Rowling, could you provide more information?
Sure. So we do have Mr. Gordon with us this evening. This is a topic I believe we've covered pretty extensively. I do want to provide an update. I want to thank Mr. Mankivsky and Mr. Stalkup for joining. Mr. Gordon and I had a meeting with the new Sugar Grove board president and their team. I think it was, I don't know if you guys want to weigh in, but I think it was a positive committee, Jesus. It was a positive meeting. It's still very early in the new administration, so I think they're getting their bearings. But I thought that it was a meeting based in collaboration and building positive relationships. And so we did bring this back. Mr. Gordon is here if you want to provide any updates. on your
Sure.
end.
Sure, I just want to echo the comments you just heard. We did meet with the new village president and the new village attorney. There's a lot of new faces, new players over at the village. They're getting their feet wet, trying to get the lay of the land. But our meeting was held in the spirit of confidentiality, but was a positive first baby step towards possibly resolving this situation. That said, there's a long way to go and a lot of specifics to deal with. And what we're asking, we've talked about this, you've seen me up here a few times talking about the potential lawsuit. What we are asking for tonight is, in order to keep this process moving forward and on the rails, for you to approve the filing of a lawsuit at the direction of the superintendent in consultation with the board president, to give the district more flexibility in when that suit is filed, so that we can give the village a good faith opportunity to get the lay of the land and get back to us and see if the process is going to move forward in a direction that does not need litigation, but we have the ability to put the brakes on, file if it's deemed necessary, and go that direction as well without having to wait for the next board meeting, because we are entering into the summer, and it will keep the process moving and at the forefront of everybody's mind.
It wouldn't be a violation of OMA if, in that process, we do empower you, but you and Bob are still able to contact the board individually and keep us updated,
That is
right?
not-
So
that is
we're
not
totally
a-
fine with that.
As long as there's
No
not a
discussion.
quorum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
you'll be advised, this is what's gonna happen, so that you're not taken by
Yeah,
surprise.
I think that makes sense.
Just as long as it's not three or more of us.
Okay. So no big conflicts.
No, yeah.
I tend to do those
Or
one-on-one.
a text chain.
On the way
Yeah.
home.
Not a good idea.
Reply alls.
All right, thank you very much.
Questions from the board? All right, I will now entertain a motion to approve the filing of a lawsuit at the direction of the superintendent in consultation with the board president, challenging the designation of the Grove redevelopment area, project area, and the approval of tax increment financing by the village of Sugar Grove, and any other village actions related thereto. Second. And a roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Stalka.
Aye.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. And you'll convey that information to
Yes,
the village.
I will let the village know what happened.
All right. It is now time for superintendent/board report. Dr. Rowing, do you have anything to share?
A couple things. So last week, Kipla students hosted an exhibition night. Many different student talents were showcased that evening, including students reading poetry that they had composed, choir and band concert, science fair projects, and areas of growth for each student were on display. Congratulations to Hudson Giannini for being named as one of the 2 Fox Valley Career Center Students of the Year. Hudson is in the Auto Tech 2 program. Also, Ashley Grashorn and Cooper Von Wagoner were finalists for that award. They are both participating in Foundations of Education. Congratulations to coach and PE teacher Ernie Cologne for being named as the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association Coach of the Year. I believe this is his 6th time winning the award, so we have a good one there. Friday, May 2nd, 2 Kaneland educators were recognized at the Kane County Educator of the Year banquet. We saw Ms. Pitstick today, but I do also want to recognize Ms. Kathy Ronzio of McDole for her nomination in the Student Support Personnel category. So we are proud to call them knights. great to have that representation. It was a fun evening. This Friday, Kaneland seniors will be participating in the senior clap out, where they will have the opportunity to visit their elementary schools as part of their last day of attendance. So that'll be a great activity. Love to watch that, and the little kids get to see where they're going to be in a quick 12 years. It depends. So maybe it's long for some of them. I don't know.
And the seniors dressed up like Harry Potter.
Yes, yes. Our 4th and 5th grade student leaders at Shields welcomed our Kipla Inspire students to KSS recently. KSS student leaders provided student-led tours, sat down and talked to their Inspire students about any questions they had about attending Shields next year. And it was a successful event for both current Shields students and our Inspire students. So update on that. And then finally, reminder that Kaneland High School graduation is coming up on Sunday, the 18th, so 6 short days away at 5 p.m. at the NIU Convocation Center. Ms. Orfel has information for you if you need it.
Everyone have them?
You don't have your stuff?
Okay.
Check in with Julie. And then Ms. Slattery is not here this evening. She is throwing the discus somewhere. I'm not sure. I'm sure she's doing a great job.
Good luck, sir.
That's impressive. 4th and 5th graders giving tours. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think one of those things that, you even saw it with the McDole presentation too, trying to build the student's voice and self-advocacy is something that we've really tried to focus on.
That's very good.
And I would say that's present at all of our schools. I mean, Mr. Faulkner does a great job here. The high school has a youth advisory board.
Yeah.
So,
Dr. Bogan?
I do not have anything this evening.
Board report.
Jump the gun again.
Wait.
Ms. Slattery is not here this evening. Board member,
I just want
Dr. Lawler.
As I was gonna say, the Kipple exhibit, fantastic. And then I also had a chance to attend the Kaneland Arts Initiative festival. It was such an awesome day. So if you get a chance to go to those, the student work is just amazing. We have some of the most talented artists, and they're playing music, and then there's community members there. So it's just a really fun day. So, and kudos to all of our art teachers who do amazing work with. I don't know how they do it. They just do it. So, yeah. Kudos to them.
Any other board member? I would just like to preemptively congratulate our graduates. This, I know it's final exam week, and it might be a little premature, but I wanted to personally congratulate our Kaneland graduates, particularly students who were in special education all that time. Congratulate them on their persevering, on overcoming a bunch of obstacles in some really tough times, but that's just personal, having been in the classroom for as long as I was. Yeah.
Here, here.
Anyone else? Are there any topics then for a future agenda that the board would like to discuss?
I know Adam was very on this, so I want to make sure that it continues talks with Caneville Fire Department and Elburn Fire Department.
I have a meeting.
They're ongoing.
I have a meeting with Elburn tomorrow, I believe. And so we do plan on bringing, we met with Caneville a week or two ago. So they will be bringing back a presentation in June on their current plan. They have some contracts with Maple Park that take effect June 1. So we wanted to give them the chance to get that in place and come with what their plan is.
Right.
And so we're continuing to push those parties on making sure we have the right services.
All right, perfect.
So you'll see a presentation in June.
Kipling numbers? What's how many kids have registered?
Yeah,
Is
I
there
can
any
get
numbers?
that. I can
It
send
could be
that.
just an email.
I can send that in this week's update.
Thank you.
Please, thank you.
So I know some of the board members, we have those dinner meetings we have with the KEA and the Speak folks. So I had one not too long ago, and one of the concerns that was brought up at that dinner was the shuffling of teachers. And I know Dr. Atkins, we talk about this every year, but it does seem like probably because we made such drastic cuts, some of that shuffling is a lot more intense than it usually is. So I thought maybe it might be good for us to be in the loop on how much that shuffling is taking place and where folks are being moved, just so we have a better sense of like how how drastic it is and what the impacts are of it. I don't know if that's a we do it here, or if it's just an update from you, but some kind of keeping us in the loop on that.
Yeah, I can, let me meet with Chris and talk about how that might work, but I do, that's an ongoing process.
Yeah, sure.
And unfortunately, this year was more than we would like.
Yeah.
I've spoken with KEA about that, and, in the future, we hope to not do that.
Absolutely.
But it's an ongoing process, because as we have changes in staffing and, somebody decides they're gonna resign and go work here or stay home with their kids or what have you, we do our best to move people back to where they came from when that's an option.
Sure.
So even like the decision tonight on a first grade teacher, that will put one of those teachers back in a classroom.
Right.
But that may also cause that shuffle if we're able to move somebody back to where they start.
Sure.
So but we can figure out a way to best, with it being personnel, I think it's probably best through an update, but as we make those changes, I think we can provide that in the weekly of so-and-so is going back here.
Okay. I appreciate it. I just think, as I said, I think this is more drastic than usual. This has been an atypical year in terms of staff cuts, so keeping the board abreast of that's probably a good idea.
Anyone else?
And all that is in the personnel report, but it may not be as clear, so we can provide a.
I mean, I don't know every teacher in the district, right? So
Yeah,
if you tell me
it's-
so-and-so's.
absolutely, yes.
I don't know what
Okay.
that means, but yeah.
Anyone else on the board? I personally would like to, let's take a look at how we encourage student excellence in the district, and that includes students in general ed as well as in special ed. What recognition we give them, what assistance, what connecting them to making the most of opportunities presented. I think a discussion on that, encouraging excellence, I'm not saying it's not been good. I'm just saying there's a lot more we could do that would encourage that culture of excellence that we've been talking about here for a while.
Yeah, I'd like to get the baseline where we're at and see where we can grow.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm
You know,
in.
like, for example, recognition of our Illinois State scholars,
Yeah, absolutely.
our National Merit Commended students, you know,
Our National Honor Society students.
yeah,
right?
yeah, there's something more. And the other thing, some recognition for Miss Slattery and all of her service.
Yep.
For next I think we should have that as part of next meeting,
Yes.
for a time. Anyone else? Anyone? All right, it's now time for the second round of public comments. Seeing none, there is no,
Don't jinx it.
quick. There is no closed session tonight for tonight's meeting, scheduled for tonight's meeting. After the vote to adjourn, the recording of tonight's meeting is concluded. And now it is, wait for it, 7:42 PM. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Dr. Lawler, second by, well, we'll just call it Aaron squared. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the meeting